Jennifer. Do you have a moment? I wanted to ask you about something. Would it be all right if my daughter came over to your apartment to play tomorrow?
Oh, hi, Clarice. So you want to have Christy come play with Allie, right? Yeah, of course. That's fine.
Oh, thank you. That's a great help. I was getting worried about what I was going to do with her tomorrow. You see, recently I've been thinking that we might be moving soon. We've been trying to get things together so we could pack up pretty quickly. Thanks to that, the whole place is a mess right now. So I know we haven't really been able to have Christy invite her friends over at all. She's been really sad about not getting to have her friends over.
Oh, are you thinking of buying a house? That's some really exciting news. I remember when our Mother's Club last had lunch together. We were talking about if people prefer living in houses, condos, or apartments. We really heard a lot of different thoughts on them, huh? What have you been looking at? Did you get swayed to one side or another?
Well, after thinking for a long while, I decided on trying to look for a condo. It just fits my style a lot better, I think, and there's less maintenance to do. My husband and I have been looking at a number of different places, actually. We've been practically combing the city.
Ah, I see. I guess my family won't really be much help to you then, since we live in a house rather than some complex.
Yeah. Honestly, one part of living in a house that bothers me is tending a garden. I really don't want to have to deal with that.
Ah, I see. I completely understand. It's definitely a lot of work, so it's not for everyone. I can't say I blame you.
Yeah, it's just not for me, I guess. Anyway, once we've decided on a place, I'll be sure to let you know. Thanks again for having Christy over tomorrow. She's really looking forward to seeing Allie. Jennifer! Thanks again for your help yesterday. Christy told me all about how she liked your big garden. I swear, she didn't stop going on about it for what felt like an hour.
Oh, well, my mother-in-law's hobby is gardening, so she's really put a lot of time into it. I haven't done a lot of it myself. Christy really wanted to water the plants, so she helped us with that while she was here. She did a great job, too. She's welcome to come back anytime.
Oh, right. That reminds me. You're living with your husband's parents, right? You don't just live on your own? Oh, that must be so stressful. What? Do you have to live with them because your husband doesn't make very much money?
I'm sorry, what? Where in the world did that come from?
Well, that big house you live in. It's the house your husband grew up in, right? His parents built it, if I remember correctly. What? He's just gonna have a hand-me-down house and that's all? He's really fine with just living there his whole life?
I can't say I know what you claim to remember, considering I've never talked about it. What, are there rumors going around about my family for some reason? My husband built this house, not his parents. He built it not just thinking about our family, but also thinking about how his parents could also use it for their respective hobbies. So when he was finished, he called them up and asked if they wanted to move in with us, and they gladly accepted. They've lived with us ever since.
Oh, really? Is that so? That sounds a little hard to believe, if you ask me. If you're so certain that your husband built the house, then when was it built? That should be easy to remember, right?
I don't see why this matters so much to you, nor do I like the tone you're taking about it. Anyway, it was around when Allie had just started elementary school, so I'd say about 5 years ago.
Was he really able to get a house built while he had such a young daughter? And he was pretty young himself, too. How on earth did he get a loan for it? I don't see how any company, bank or otherwise, would have been willing to offer someone like him that kind of money. I don't know. It sounds a lot more to me like you're just trying to lie to me. Especially with you giving me a date that's 2 years before I moved in.
Seriously, Clarice? Why in the world would I lie about something like this? I have nothing to gain from hiding details about my house from you. There's no hidden agenda behind it being 5 years ago either. That's just the fact of the matter. If it's really bothering you that much, why not ask one of our other friends who's lived around here longer? They can back up my story, no problem.
You know what? That's a good idea, actually. If I check with some of them, it would be a snap to figure out the real story here. Okay, I'll just go and check in with some of the mothers who've been living here then to see if you're really telling the truth.
I'm starting to feel like you aren't going to be willing to accept the truth.
Okay, Jennifer. I've gone and asked a number of different people. I asked them about you, your husband, and your house. It sounds like your house really is pretty new.
So, you actually are going to accept the truth? That's a nice surprise.
Don't go thinking you're out of the woods yet. I've also heard some rather interesting stories as well.
What a surprise. Okay, go on. Enlighten me. What sort of stories did you happen to hear from people?
I'm so glad you asked. I've heard all sorts of interesting stories. For example, stories such as how people were seeing your husband around here in the middle of the week, when he should be at work.
Oh, that? That's just because my husband doesn't work for some other company. He's self-employed. As you might expect, that means he can take breaks whenever he likes. Nothing strange about that, is there?
Self-employed, huh? That's something everyone else just can't seem to get their head around. Actually, it's more like they just don't really know him well at all. Are you sure there isn't something going on?
Yes, I'm sure. My husband just can't seem to be around when we meet up. His timing's just awful. Thanks to that, I just haven't really been able to introduce him to anyone. I guess it wouldn't really surprise me if they considered him pretty mysterious. Though I would highly prefer if they would just ask me about my husband rather than spreading unfounded rumors like we were freshmen in high school.
Well, rumors or not, I can't say it really matters either way to me. That's not actually what I'm caring about here, frankly. The real issue here is his job. You say he's self-employed, right? How much does he even make? I can't imagine it's very much.
Hey, I'm not about to go spilling details like that. Even if I had permission from him to do so, I certainly wouldn't tell you over a text message.
Well, I just happened to hear something from someone who was living at the previous complex your family lived in. They saw someone who looked to be in prime condition to work, who got up at a perfectly reasonable time every day. But they worked someplace that always seemed to be open late into the night.
I can't say I understand what you're getting at. You're saying that one person was the only one who seemed to get up at a normal hour?
Well, that wasn't exactly the issue at hand. It was his job. He was in his 40s, yet he was just working some menial job at some service window or something. I heard it was because he screwed up at work and was relegated there instead of being fired. His screw-up was so big that he couldn't exactly change jobs easily, so he was just clinging to that position for dear life. Apparently, he could barely make $20,000 a year, so his life looked pretty miserable.
$20,000, huh? That certainly isn't easy to live on, for sure. I mean, he had a place to live, so he at least had a chance to improve his life, it sounds like. But then, you said this was a father? How could he pay for his children's tuition? How could he support them?
Well, that couple apparently went to live at his parents' house to save money. Tell me the truth now. That's the same sort of thing that happened to you, isn't it? Or maybe that story was actually about you to begin with. I gotta say, the latter sounds pretty likely to me.
Huh? Why would you think that? You've known me for a few years now. What would make you think I'm struggling with a husband who can barely earn money?
What? Didn't you hear me when I asked you before? Your house is actually your husband's old house he grew up in, isn't it? Sure, you can say your husband built it all you like, but that's all just a show, isn't it? It's all just a cover story. The truth is that your husband's parents are the ones who built the house, right? You and your family are practically leeching off of them. I mean, when you first gave me that lame excuse, I was confused. It was just so suspicious. This makes so much more sense.
Wait, what did you even ask everyone? You asked a bunch of people in the Mothers Club, right? I don't believe you asked what you say you did. What do you even want to know anyway? What about my personal life are you so desperate to know that you would go this far about it?
What? You can't figure it out? I thought it would be obvious for me talking about your husband, but maybe your street smarts are as poor as your family. I want to know your husband's job and his salary. Where does he really work? How much does he really make?
I have no clue why this matters to you, or why you think it should concern you in the slightest. Why do you even want to know something like that?
I just want to know. It's not like I'm going to make a fool of you for it or anything. Just tell me.
Sure, like I'm going to believe that. I can't think of any legitimate reason to tell you.
I don't see why you're being so uptight about it. Oh, incidentally, I thought you should know that my husband has all 3 qualities a good husband should have.
3 qualities? What on earth are you talking about? You judge a husband as good or bad based on only 3 things?
Oh, what's that? Has your life really been so lacking that you don't even know what they are? You really don't know very much, do you? Well, I'd be happy to explain what makes my husband so great. He's tall, he's highly educated, and he practically makes a fortune. My husband is high up in a major construction company. He's a big-shot general contractor who handles all sorts of major jobs for major cash.
Oh, I can't say I knew that. That's interesting, I guess. Though if you're so fixated on how good his figure is, I imagine you might run into some trouble if he got really sick or needed care.
I mean, maybe. If you didn't have the money to pay for proper treatment anyway. What? Are you saying that because your household doesn't have that kind of money? That's just so tragic to think about.
I mean, I'm just saying I'd be concerned is all. I can't say I really meant anything by it.
That's not what I'm talking about anyway. Look, what's his job and what's his salary? I'm not about to go telling people or anything, so just tell me.
And I told you that I have no reason to believe you'll keep it quiet. I'm not going to tell you how much he makes, no matter how much you ask. He's self-employed, like I already said. He makes enough, within his limits. While it is self-employment, he does have a pension plan set up. He's doing a fine job saving up for retirement.
Well, when you say it's self-employment, you mean he's inheriting a family business, right? Oh, and by the way, since my husband's working at such a big corporation, he of course has a healthy pension and insurance benefits.
Well, he used to work at a bank, but he wasn't really a fan of constantly getting bossed around by higher-ups. That was his main reason for quitting his job at the bank and starting his own business instead. As for what his actual job is, well, I'm not really sure what I'd call it. He does all sorts of different work, so it's honestly pretty difficult to explain.
So, wait. You're telling me that his distaste for getting ordered around got him stuck doing some pathetic service window job?
Huh? No, it wasn't anything like that. Actually, at that time, his stock portfolio was doing extremely well. Anyway, what's important is that now he's self-employed. How his previous job ended up isn't really relevant anymore.
And here we go again with the claim of self-employment. That's really a convenient little way to refer to it, isn't it? Especially considering he's just a worker drone who got demoted to a position so low it's practically an embarrassment. You both are relying on his parents to live your lives, aren't you? Seriously, you really don't need to be trying to lie to me like you've been doing.
I still don't understand why you're so fixated on the idea that I'm lying to you. Why would my husband want to be a worker drone, as you so artfully put it?
That's just what my intuition is telling me. That's all.
Excuse me? So you're telling me this is all just some wild delusion you're running under or something? That's one hell of an assumption.
Hey, my intuition is always right. I know what's been going on, Jennifer. You've been struggling having to manage your expenses, haven't you?
I wouldn't say we're struggling. It's not like we're really poor or anything.
Oh, stop trying to hide it. Seriously, you need to not be so hesitant to tell me the truth. You just happened to lose the husband lottery. That's all.
Hey, Clarice. Do you have a minute?
Sure, Jennifer. I can talk. As long as you're not asking me to lend you money or something.
You don't need to say things like that, you know? I mean, I'm not really in any financial trouble right now anyway, so there's no need to even mention it.
Sure, no problem. Anyway, what's going on? Something had to have happened if you're the one texting me. I almost had to do a double take when I saw the notification was from you.
Well, it's about Allie.
Huh? What's wrong with Allie?
Well, I told her about how your family might be moving away soon, and she got really worried about if Christy would have to change schools.
Oh, I see. I can understand why she'd be worried. There's nothing to worry about, though. We've been looking for places in the same school district. The paperwork we'd have to do to get her to change schools would be annoying enough to deal with, so we don't intend to make her leave her current one.
Oh, that's a relief to hear. I'll be sure to tell Allie that she has nothing to worry about.
Well, if your husband could manage to earn a bit more money, I don't think there would really be anything to worry about in the first place. Don't you think?
That implies we're having some sort of trouble. As long as he makes enough that we can maintain our standard of living, it's just fine, isn't it? Again, we're not having any sort of money problems at the moment.
Oh, is that so? There's no need to be so reserved about it. I mean, I can tell that deep down you're just itching to move on to a life of greater luxury. Maybe live in a much more upscale apartment or a fancy condo.
Oh, is that the kind of thing you're looking for then?
Well, of course. My husband just recently got promoted. So we just have to find a place that will let us live like celebrities. The place we're at now is just a bit too plain for our tastes. Maybe cheap is a better word.
Well, I guess living in the same apartment for your whole life would be hard to accept for a lot of people, wouldn't it?
I know, right? Well, I know I would absolutely hate living with my parents or something like that, too. I guess for a poor person like you who has to live with her husband's family, living in a high-class condo must be nothing but a pipe dream, huh?
Not particularly. I can't say that's really ever been a dream of ours. It's not like we need something like that anyway. It's not like everyone dreams of living in a place like that, you know? I mean, I know I prefer to have my own house where I can improve and maintain it the way I want. A nice garden would be nice too.
Seriously? Gardening and house maintenance? Are menial chores all you dream about or something? Right now, my apartment's only on the 5th floor. I'd love to move to someplace really tall.
Someplace tall, huh?
Yep. Someplace where it feels like I'm practically touching the sky when I look out the window. Wouldn't that be amazing? Once we finally decide on a place and move in, we'll be sure to invite Allie over. I mean, if we don't, she probably won't get to set foot in such a high-class building in her whole entire life, will she? Hey! Listen to this, Jennifer. We've almost settled on where we're going to be moving to.
Oh, really? Where is it? Are you going to be able to keep Christy in the same school?
Yep. We'll still be in the same school district. We did end up going with a condo instead of a house, but it's still a place that would be nothing but a dream for someone like you.
And here we go with this again. Look, my current house is plenty big, and it's not like it's remotely old either. I am perfectly satisfied with the home I have now.
Sure, you say that, but I know that you're really jealous deep down, right? Our condo that we're buying, it's in a tower. It's a tower complex, and we'll be near the top.
Oh? What tower might that be?
Oh, it's the Empire Line apartment complex downtown. It's a 50-floor complex, and we'll be on the 39th floor. To be honest, I would have liked it if we could have gotten one on a higher floor, but still.
The Empire Line complex, huh? Have you managed to finalize the contract?
Well, we haven't signed everything yet, but we're well on our way in the process. We've almost managed to get everything finalized. Starting next month, my family is going to be living in a luxurious tower. I suppose that since you're practically glued to the ground with a little 2-floor house, you probably won't be able to see nearly as much of the night sky as I'll be able to, huh? All you can probably do is imagine it.
I don't know if being in such a high place is all it's cracked up to be honest. Sure, my house might only have 2 floors, but we also have a pretty expansive basement too. It's even got 2 levels too. So we really have a lot of space. The whole property is pretty large.
If your house goes so far as to have a 2-level basement, that sounds more like a miniature mansion.
One of the parts of our basement is a wine cellar, while the other has a soundproof theater room. We've also got a workshop where my husband does his hobby work.
Hobby? What sort of hobby does your husband have?
Well, he's actually got a few different ones, but right now he's really into music. He's got a whole amateur band going, actually. He wanted to try starting one while he was still young enough to do so. So our basement also has a studio.
Well, you're really spending a lot of money on places nobody can see, huh? It's a shame, though. Since no one can see them, it's entirely possible that you could just be lying about everything. I mean, given how your husband has such a dead-end job, I can't imagine you actually have the money to pay for anything like that.
And here we are again with the money talk. You just can't seem to stop talking about that, can you? You really are determined to make my husband out to be some guy with next to no money and a terrible job, huh?
I mean, he is just a guy who spends his day daydreaming, living in his parents' old dusty house, isn't he? I mean, you still haven't even told me what his actual job is, outside of saying he's self-employed with no elaboration.
And I'll say the same thing again. He's doing a lot of different things, so it's really hard to properly explain. I guess if I were to try to simplify it somehow, I'd probably call him a landlord.
Oh, like the landlord of an apartment or something? Trying to manage an apartment while also acting as its caretaker must be really hard, huh?
No, he's not handling all of it alone. Just about all of the management of the complex he owns is handled by a company he's got working for him.
Well, if he's employing another company for all of that, I can't imagine he's earning much after paying that company for all their work. Does he also have a desk job to pay for your living expenses?
As I've told you before, he doesn't work for some other company.
You're going back to that again? I don't understand why you can't just tell me honestly already. I mean, even if you and your family are poor, our kids get along fine, don't they? It's not like I'm going to tell anyone else about how your husband just sits at a window all day as his job or anything. What? Is it hard to tell me the truth because my husband works for such a big company? He is a big-shot general contractor. I guess I could understand.
Self-employed man or big-shot general contractor? It doesn't really make any difference, does it? If he's making enough money and doing a good job helping me raise our children, I've got no reason to reveal what he does for a living.
What? So you're just going to run away yet again? Well, I suppose you're not wrong in a way. Thanks to my husband being an elite in his field, he just makes all the money I need without a second thought. I don't need to care about the details either. He's really making my life a lot easier. Hey, Jennifer! You've gotta hear this.
Huh? What's going on, Clarice?
Remember how I was going to be getting a condo? Well, the talks just suddenly broke down and we're back to square one. We were so close. All we needed to do was sign the contract and pay the deposit.
Huh. And you have no idea what happened?
How could I? I would have said if I had even the slightest clue. It's not like we didn't have enough money. I just have no idea why it all suddenly fell apart.
So you were denied a condo there despite having no idea why they would do so?
Yes! That's exactly what I'm saying. You see how weird this is too, don't you?
Well, you may not remember anything, sure. But I heard from someone from your previous residence about how you had injured them, so I decided to deny your bid for the condo.
Huh? What in the world are you talking about? Why are you talking as if you had something to do with it, Jennifer?
Oh, that? That's simple. You said you were going to buy a condo at the Empire Line building, right? Well, the owner of that building happens to be my husband.
Excuse me? Don't make me laugh. I don't need to hear crap like that coming from someone as destitute as you.
I see you still haven't managed to kick that habit of wild fantasizing. Anyway, I heard from a number of people about how you caused your neighbors no end of trouble at the place you're living at now. Am I wrong?
Wait, huh? How do you know about that?
Well, I told you once, but maybe you should try listening this time. One of the aspects of my husband's self-employment is owning the Empire Line building. In regards to your application to buy a condo there, we run background checks on anyone who wants to live there.
Background checks? What did you go looking into? You do realize that my husband is a big shot contractor, don't you? If we can pay the fees and pay the rent, there isn't a problem, is there?
I mean, yes, there's no issue with your application financially. But you've only been living at your current residence for a couple years, correct?
Huh? You're worried about that? I just don't like staying in one place for too long.
There's no point in trying to deceive me, so I suggest you drop the act. I already mentioned how you would cause trouble for your neighbors, didn't I? I already know all about what you did. I know all about how you've had multiple run-ins with the police as well. The most recent incident involved you pouring glue into the keyhole of the door to your neighbor's apartment. Harassing your neighbors like that is despicable, not to mention childish. I didn't even have to do much digging. It practically came up right away.
And just what made you think you had the right to go snooping into my past?
As I've already said, my husband owns the building you want to live in.
Yes, and I'm a customer. You realize that? My family buys the condo and you profit. Why would you just up and reject us like this?
What, did you think my husband only owns lot 3906? The condo you wanted? I guess you didn't read what I wrote properly, so I'll tell you yet again. My husband owns the building. Not just a single condo at Empire Line, the entire building. Perhaps try actually paying attention this time, and you'll understand. As the owner, my husband has a responsibility to do his best to let all of his tenants live peacefully. So, if there happens to be an applicant who would cause trouble for the other tenants, we would not allow them to live in the complex.
Wait, your husband owns the whole building? I thought you were just saying that as another one of your lies, like the story about the studio and wine cellar.
I haven't told you a single lie. You just didn't want to believe what I told you because it didn't fit with your mental image of me in my house.
But that would mean you're crazy rich, right? Okay, well, I won't ask again about that 39th floor place. Are there any vacancies somewhere further up? Maybe the 45th floor?
Did you not comprehend what I said correctly again? I said you would not be allowed to live in the complex. At all. It doesn't matter if it's floor 45 or floor 5. You will not be allowed to purchase a condo in the Empire Line building.
You don't need to say things like that. Come on, can't you give me a discount? We're both members of the Mothers Club, aren't we?
What part of "you are not allowed to purchase a condo" do you not understand? You aren't going to buy a condo, so there's obviously no discount either. How shameless are you? Maybe that shamelessness is what made you cause trouble for your neighbors at your current apartment.
I get it. You're sorry for rejecting me given how poor you are. I understand. You were just jealous, so that's why you were saying you had to reject me, right? Come on. You can let it go, can't you? It was all just a little misunderstanding.
Are you completely incapable of understanding a thing I'm telling you? I can't put it more plainly. We are not going to let you live in the Empire Line building. You are nothing but trouble for your neighbors, and you are not causing trouble for our tenants. That is the result of our background check, and my husband's final decision as the owner.
You're kidding me. We've already started packing and everything. We were so set on moving soon.
Don't tell me you already terminated the contract for your current apartment.
Yes! We're supposed to leave by the end of this month. That's why I wanted to move into that condo so badly.
Well, unfortunately, you don't have a contract for a condo at Empire Line. So, sorry, but you're going to have to go searching for some other place to live. If you can pay for one of our condos, you can pay for one somewhere else, can't you?
No! The Empire Line building has the best view in the city. I want to live there.
Petulant whining isn't going to change our decision. You are not moving into Empire Line. Even if we don't sell the condo to you, we have plenty of other interested buyers. Whether you want to buy it or not doesn't matter. Your choices are to either try to renew your contract for your current apartment or move somewhere else. That's it.
You can't be serious. I've already told so many people about how I'm going to be moving to a condo at the Empire Line building.
I fail to see why that should matter to me in the slightest. How about you just search for a different complex instead of whining to me? I mean, you still have some influence, don't you? What with your husband being a big-shot general contractor, as you called him? You shouldn't have much trouble buying a place, right?
We save money to live someplace nice. Your building is the best one in the city. That's why we wanted to move there.
Thank you for the kind words about the building. My husband will be happy to hear them. However, the condo you wanted is still going to be sold to someone else.
How could you?
Have you ever heard of a credit history? You know, a record of how you've used your money and how reliable you are with paying your debts. Well, if I were to look at the history for your current residence, I'd say you're on the brink of being blacklisted around here. Even if we ignore that, your history of living with other people is pretty bad as it is. No matter where you go, you pester your neighbors and are a general nuisance.
Look, I won't do that anymore, okay? So just let us buy the damn condo already.
You've already caused enough trouble as it is. Do you realize that? You've been spreading rumors around town that my husband has a dead-end job and can barely make $20,000 a year.
What? That? That's just because I thought that's what was going on.
The fact that you don't see the problem is appalling enough. But you do realize that we've already done a thorough background check on you, don't you? We've already made our decision, and no matter how much you whine, it's not going to change. I suggest you go searching for a condo in a different town if you want to have any chance of finding a place that will accept you.
But we have the money! We won't be late on a single payment.
Tell that to a loan company. We couldn't care less how much money you have. All we want to do is stop questionable people from purchasing condos in our building.
Oh, come on! Why do you have to be so stubborn about this? Okay, fine. We'll just cancel any plans we had to move into your building. I hope you realize that this means we'll have to have Christy change schools.
Well, I suppose that's unfortunately unavoidable. Anyway, I suggest you be careful in your search. My husband owns 2 other buildings in the city.
Wait, what? Are you telling me that he owns all of the most luxurious condo complexes in the city? But that means there's not a single tower in the city we can live in.
A tower? I thought you just wanted a condo. But why are you so focused on living in a tower?
Isn't it obvious? It feels good to live someplace high up where you can look down on everyone below you, doesn't it?
Look down on? That's an interesting choice of words. Are you saying you want to look down at everyone like they're all trash or something? No way. That's just too ridiculous.
No, that's not what I was thinking or anything, but still. Are you sure you can't let us buy a condo at Empire Line?
You really need to learn that there are some times where you can't just buy your way out of a problem. If you finally actually learned your lesson, I suggest being a bit more mature at the next place you move to.
This can't be happening!
When she finally realized it wasn't going to happen, Clarice and her husband finally gave up on moving into Empire Line. They started to frantically look for a new place to move to, but they never managed to actually settle a contract anywhere. With their old apartment gone, they had no choice but to move to her husband's parents' house. While I find the irony amusing, I do feel bad for Clarice's daughter Christy, since she did end up having to change schools. If only her mother wasn't such a troublemaker. Then I would have been happy to sell her the condo. Incidentally, everything I said about my house is true. We don't live in any of the buildings my husband owns. My husband did actually build the house and invited his parents to live with us. But there was one other reason. He's afraid of heights. According to him, the only things that like heights are birds and smoke. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to leave a like and a comment. New videos are released every day, so subscribe to see the latest videos.